actually. By the way, I am terribly jealous of your background. Your green screen works. Mine's just a damn green screen.
No, this is
We we have got a great guest with us today. He joins us live here on our big broadcast. He is a disaster response and telecom national security spokesperson for SAT123. That definitely does not fit all on a business card.
yeah.
Chris joins us today here in our broadcast. We are driving into a major national security alert that should have everyone's attention. And today, we're going to be talking with Chris about a new report from the Center for Security Policy that warns that artificial intelligence is shaping up to be the new Cold War, and the Chinese Communist Party may be on the verge of dominating global AI technology. And according to a report, China could surpass the U.S. in AI leadership by 2030, if not sooner, potentially flooding the world market with ultra cheap, strategically designed AI systems that can shift geopolitical power overnight. And to help break this down, we're joined by someone who understands the national security implications better than almost anyone, Chris Hoar. Chris, you are amazing, my friend. Thanks for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be here, Jiggy. And, when you use the word Cold War, to me, it's not that cold. I mean,
it's not that cold. Look at that.
The Chinese and the North Koreans, the Russians, the Iranians, they've been after us forever, attacking us through cyber warfare techniques for many years. And unfortunately, AI is heating that up. Like, AI makes a lot of things easier. It makes it easier to find things, it makes it easier to solve things, to learn things. It also makes it easier to attack people with cyber warfare. And so that's what's been certainly heating up. But look, China love their 5-year plans, and their most recent 5-year plan, which ends in 2030, states very clearly that they plan to dominate AI and the production of AI software equipment, everything else. And unfortunately, they've been working on this for quite a long time, and they're doing a pretty good job in some respects. They've been rolling up the supply of rare earth elements across the planet for many years in various ways. It's estimated they control between 60 and 70% of the world's rare earth elements. And these are the things, Jiggy, that you need to make the data centers, to power the data centers, from the chips to the fiber optic cables to the screens and so on. These are essential elements that, have no substitute generally. They also have done a much better job in controlling the refining and getting monopoly on the refining of these elements. They're responsible for about 90% of the world's refining capacity at the moment. So, it's like 5-year plans have not done great generally in many cases, but in this instance, they might have hit one that's working. And certainly
they might have hit one that's working. That is amazing.
Like craps long enough, right? You get to pass the line. But again, it's not just the control of these rare earth elements. And obviously they have the production capability to produce massive amounts of equipment, but along with that comes the software. And this is where, we've got to watch out, because we have, led the world in innovation for many, many decades. And we're still, I think, the world leaders in innovation. But what's been happening is some of that innovation is not being, funded and pushed forward, particularly the development of fast breeder reactors and more efficient nuclear reactors that we developed in the 60s and 70s and then abandoned. The Chinese just picked that up and ran with it. And as a result, are now able to build, a lot of nuclear power stations that are very efficient, produce less waste, less prone to core meltdowns. Because at the very core of this AI war, or the war for AI dominance, is power. If you don't have the power, you're out of the game. And they saw that coming. Look, they don't have the restrictions that we have, the laws, the environmental restrictions and so on. And I'm not saying all of that's bad, but they just do whatever they want. The CCP does whatever suits it best. And so they just started rolling out the production of these nuclear power centers that are, say, more efficient, produce more power than we do. And they also, and this is the one thing that really, is the kicker at the core of this, they have a much more modern power grid than we do. our power grid is pretty old and not well designed and has many single points of failure, right?
That is one thing I've always wondered. Why the hell no one can get this power grid fixed? There's
Yeah.
got to be somebody somewhere that's going to make a deal with somebody for some tax breaks or something.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, I don't have the solution per se, but certainly private industry is better at running business than government. I'll tell you, that's just a fact. Look, I come from the UK, where in the 70s, the government ran everything. The government made cars, phones, they ran the railways, the hospitals, they ran absolutely everything, and it was a total disaster. And it ended in, Margaret Thatcher coming in and saving our country from becoming a third world country. Of course, she's now hated for that. Why wouldn't we hate her for that? But she privatized everything, and now and created world-class businesses out of failing government enterprises. But the power grid is very heavily regulated, and certainly there needs to be some regulation. But most states don't allow me, as like, if I had $1 billion or as a businessman, I can't go out and just build a power plant unless it's going to be branded as a utility. Right. And then that, along with that, comes all kinds of other responsibilities that may not serve my business. New Hampshire, I believe, is the only state where you can actually build a private power plant. But we need to deregulate, and we need to invest or encourage the investment in a new national power grid, because if we don't have the power, again, we don't have anything. I mean, think about it. When the power fails, what is it that we have that doesn't rely on the power grid? It's not much.
No, we go back to the Stone Age pretty quick.
Yeah, we do. And it can, of course, now with everything being run, in data centers and cloud computing, again, that means that our supply chains all rely on power and the power grid. And so if those collapse, look, supermarkets used to keep, weeks or months worth of supplies on hand. And now, it's 3 or 4 days, 5 days. And same with a lot of other businesses. It's efficient, right? Just in time delivery or whatever. But if the transportation networks and the supply chains break down, those stores are going to be empty. The gas station's going to be empty. If we have no power, there's no financial markets, no financial transactions. There's not much of anything. So, I think it should be a priority to invest in the basic core infrastructure and make sure it's protected. I mean, look, we've seen so many instances of individual or smaller terrorist groups or nation states being able to disable waterworks, power stations, local power stations, data centers, and so on. And when we see those things interrupted, the effects are very real and they're huge. I mean, like, we go back a couple of weeks, right? AWS, which has done a great job at rolling up cloud computing and cloud storage to the point where they control 38% of the global market. But when one of their biggest data centers goes offline, which it did, the ripple effect is felt around the world. We have a lot of eggs in too few baskets. And it's like, I'm not knocking Amazon. They've done a great job. But look, if everyone's relying on them and they fail, what next? And if this failure at Amazon was a software update, according to them, and I'm sure they're right, but what if one of these data centers was attacked and taken offline completely? That would be a real problem. So I think, we need to make sure that we are investing in our infrastructure and protecting it. The state agency, CISA, the Cybersecurity Infrastructure and Security Agency, has apparently vacancies are running around 40%, and they're our front line of defense against cyber warfare. I mean, we can't afford that.
Wow. Oh, wow. We have got Chris Hoar with us today. He's a disaster response telecom national security spokesperson for SAT123. They are a leader in secure satellite communications. Chris is a seasoned entrepreneur whose career spans tech, satellite systems, digital marketing, mission critical communication platforms. From the training floors of London to emerging tech developments here in the United States, he's built a reputation as a trusted expert on communication resilience and emerging threat technology, and he joins us today here on our big program. So let's talk a little bit about this report. that is out. Did anything in this report surprise you, or did it confirm warnings that you've been seeing for years?
I mean, no, there's no surprises in there. I mean, look, China and others are not trying to hide what they're doing. They're very open about it. Like they want to dominate AI, they want to control AI standards, and there's lots of reasons for that. But at the core of it always is self-preservation by the CCP. And there are many detrimental side effects to us. But look, if you control AI, then you control the algorithms. Therefore, you control the morality or lack thereof that is pushed by those algorithms. It enables you, if you have large AI platforms with billions of users, that enables you to connect to those users and push your narrative and control the narrative and normalize abhorrent or evil behavior or unjust behaviors or whatever it is. And the Chinese are looking to seek control. They have a lot of control of their own people, but they don't want to stop there. They want to reach out and control others all around the world. And social media, is one way that they are doing that. And of course, AI now enables them to create, do things from create millions of pieces of fake data, fake news, to create, millions of fake users very quickly that all apparently seem to support this fake news and share it and so on. So there's lots of insidious activity going on. But the warfare here is coming from all sides. They're attacking our moral values. They're trying to influence on a personal level. They're stealing our data. They're stealing our innovation. And they're trying to control the supply and manufacturing of everything you need to produce all of the components and software of AI and surrounding AI.
Chris Hoar with us today. He joins us live. So, how close is China to becoming the global AI leader realistically?
I mean, it's hard to say. That this is certainly a battle that we are fighting, and we have some great companies involved. But the rate of change, I mean, when you're making long-term predictions for AI, it seems kind of erroneous to me because when you have new platforms and new capabilities emerging so quickly on a daily basis. Look, if you go on YouTube, you'll see, now you have Gemini 3.6 and Perplexity 3.7 and tomorrow's ChatGPT 9.8, and every day it's new. But behind this, we have a race to develop faster chips, better chips, and then we have other things coming to play, like what should be a push for sovereign data, sovereign AI. Like we don't own our data today, right? It's owned by Google or Apple or whatever cloud we upload it to, and it's being used against us, and it can be controlled, it can be hacked. We need to start to control our own data. We need to start to own and control our own AIs. Otherwise, we're going to be the slave and master to whoever is running, or providing the best AIs and whoever is storing that data. And I think that's a bad situation, regardless of China or anyone else. But the Chinese certainly would love to see that.
We've got a great.
I think I lost you there for a minute, mate. But if we don't step up our investment, we could well find ourselves on the losing end of this. Sorry, and I couldn't hear your question, man.
You're good. Maybe you're good. So, Chris Hoar with us today. He joins us live here on our podcast. So, let's talk a little bit about China's strategy and their intent. This report alleges that the CCP plans to flood world markets with cheap AI technology. Well, why would they do that, and what's the end game here, Chris?
Well, look, if you sell someone a tablet, right, you can install the operating system on that tablet. You can install the AI on that tablet. And look, I mean, I think a good example is this. It's like a lot of us buy these cheap security cameras, right? And they come from Amazon or whatever, but where are they made? They're all made in China, right? And if you buy one of those systems, it's like, oh yeah, don't worry, you don't need anything else. There's a free app and you can see what's going on in your garden. And then, but who's providing that app, right? It's the Chinese. It's the same people that sold you the cameras, right? They sell you the cameras at cost or less than cost because now they have a direct feed into, your garden, to your business, or whatever it is. And they can, they have it's not even a back door, it's a front door right into looking at what you're doing. So essentially they are using us to buy equipment from them that is then watching us, spying on us, using or stealing our data for their own purposes. And so whether it's a tablet or a phone or a laptop or a car, All of these things now come with that. Everything is connected to the internet, and therefore everything is feeding data to the internet. And where is that data going? If you're buying products that come from China, guess what? That data is going right back to China. I mean, we in this country have placed, limitations on some equipment, some Chinese drones and things like that. But look, I mean, what has been happening is they've been selling us, vital kind of equipment that we use, like, for example, at our ports or on our power grids, control planes, that it may be good equipment and it may be cheap, but if it's coming from China, that means that they have or potentially have back doors in that equipment. We don't want them having access and the ability to control or spy on what we're doing at our ports or at the border or at airports or anything else. But, if we're buying the equipment from them and it comes with their software, we're not checking it. I know that a lot of equipment has had to be sent back that the federal government has purchased because they found back doors in it that they couldn't remove. So they
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm sure we're doing the same thing to them, but my concern is what they're doing to us. So yeah, this is a long-term battle that they've been fighting. And as President Trump rightly points out, like, we do need to have more manufacturing in this country. We can't be buying equipment that we rely on for our national security, and our vital, infrastructure operations from another country if it can't be trusted. We shouldn't have to rely on them. What if they cut it off? What if, we've already seen them limit the supply of rare earth elements or refined rare earth elements to the US companies, things that not just go into AI data centers, but go into jet engines and what have you. And also, of course, we've seen huge price rises in all of those rare earth elements. So, if we're not independent, that means we are dependent and we are reliant. And, if it was, a friendly, an ally, that would be better. But China, I don't think China's really an ally of ours.
We have got a great guest with us today. Chris Hoar is with us. He joins us live here on our big broadcast. So is this basically similar to past CCP strategies, like dominating with the rare earth minerals, the telecom, the solar manufacturing, all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all part of the same plan for global domination, and they want to be the biggest economy, the biggest superpower, and they're certainly investing in that. But, again, they're having to rely on a lot of the innovation that comes out of the West, especially of the U.S. And, we need to be make sure that we're protecting that innovation. We're not letting it get into their hands, because we are better innovators in my mind, and you need to innovate to compete. And this is why you see China, looking so closely at Taiwan and, mounting, they're about to mount a new, global influence campaign, I believe, to try and, smooth the way for the invasion of Taiwan, which obviously is something they'd love to control. And why? Because of the semiconductor production that goes on there. They want control of that, so we need to be producing this stuff at home here in the US, and we need to spend more time and money protecting not just the innovation, but investing in our infrastructure. And whether it's, private companies do it better, so let's give them the incentives to do it. Let's allow private capital to build the infrastructure that we need to survive as a country. So we don't upgrade our power grid, and then protect it properly. I mean, we have really no hope. I'm not trying to be a doomsayer here at all. No. We're up against, a country that is run, it's a dictatorship. It's run by one organization, and they made it very clear what they want to do, and we need to make sure that they don't win this race for AI dominance.
We have got a great guest with us today. He joins us live here on our big program. Chris Hoar is with us, talking a little bit about the China's strategy and their intent. So what makes AI a more dangerous battlefield than past economic competitions, Chris?
Well, really, it's the sheer capability of it, right? Again, it's like when you look at cyber attacks, if you've got a group of people, they can only do so much per minute or per hour when it comes to looking for ways into our networks, scanning activity and so on. But when you can develop, when you have AI software that can literally create viruses to suit a certain need, and those viruses can then infiltrate a network and then evolve once they're inside a network to be even more damaging. I mean, we're really up against a new kind of threat. And again, this as overall cyber warfare has been going on, since the invention of the internet. But now it's speeding up, and we're on the verge of what they call Y2Q, which is the year till quantum. Then that's the time at which quantum computing becomes, widely available, and therefore able to crack the most encrypted data that we have. All the data standards used by the banks and the governments and the Defense Department and so on. Which whether it's 256, 512, whatever it is, but we're sending that over the airwaves. And our enemies are recording that data, even though they can't decrypt it, because as soon as quantum computing, is available to them, they will then be able to decrypt that information. So look, this is a war we're fighting on many fronts, but at the core of it, is innovation, creating newer, faster, better, more capable chips, and so on. And if we're not doing that, then they will. So again, we need to be on our guard. I mean, obviously we have some great companies that are doing this, but we need to make sure that those companies are continue to, be enabled to do what they do best. But we need to make sure that we're encouraging, new businesses to come up as well. Because there are so many moving parts to this, but we need to have, a culture that we used to have in this country and that we're starting to see come back, where we're encouraging private capital and private enterprise to take risks, potentially for big rewards. But that's what's really driving innovation, whether it's coming out of universities or private companies, wherever it's coming out of, we need to be funding and encouraging that. Because look, in China, whether you're a private company, university, or whatever, you are essentially in partnership with the CCP. So if you have a good idea, it becomes their good idea, right? So they're taken from everywhere, right? That's just mandatory. We don't want to see that here, but what we do want to see, is a hotbed of innovation, that continues to expand, that is encouraged and enabled by the government and the states and by regulation in general, in my opinion.
That is awesome. We have got a great guest with us today. Chris Hoar joins us here on our broadcast. SAT123.com is the official website. So as we sort of clock down here, we're going to go to our next guest here in a few. But if the U.S. does nothing, what does the world look like in 2030, my friend?
Well, I mean, maybe we'll all be speaking Mandarin on this show, Luckily, with or without government help or assistance, our private companies are doing great things, and they are innovating, and they are creating, and they are, being successful. But this is not something we can afford to pause, But again, at the end of the day, I think the most important thing is, will we as a nation decide that, or realize even that our infrastructure is a vital part, not just of our daily lives, but it's a vital part of our national security. I mean, data centers need to be protected, power grids need to be protected, and we need investment in all of these things, if we're going to have any chance of not just winning this war, but sustaining it, because there is no end game to this war. It's going to continue. The race for dominance in what we call AI today. Who knows what it'll be tomorrow? But no matter what it is, it's going to require innovation. It's going to require power, and those are things that require investment. And we need to make sure that we are giving private enterprise and all of the millions of smart people in this country, the best chance at winning this.
So, Chris, what can listeners do professionally or personally to protect themselves from technological overreach?
I mean, I think, look, you need to control and own where your data is stored. You need to understand, if you're using, an LLM, it is not your friend. It is not your therapist. Anything you tell it, it is good. It is now their information. So if you give it information, it takes that information that can be used for against you. Look, if you start, talking to it about a disease, it's going to know that, and that data could be sold to, a healthcare company or insurer that might decide that, hey, this guy is doing an awful lot of research about this disease. Maybe he has that disease, and therefore we're either going to jack his rates up or we're not going to insure him at all. Just for example. But we've also, we have situations where people are talking to an AI, and then that data suddenly ends up in the hands of law enforcement. I mean, you don't know where it's going because it's not yours, right? It looks like yours and it's friendly, and it's like, good morning, Chris, how you doing? How can I help you? But really, we're helping it. We are the ones that are training these AIs, and we're not getting paid for it, number one. And number two, everything that we're saying to these AIs and these LLMs is not our property. So we need to own our own AIs. We need to have sovereign AI. We need to own our data. And then that way we can control it. But until then, we are owned by them, and we are the slave to the machine, literally.
So, Chris, before we let you go, tell us a little bit about SAT123 and what you guys provide over there.
Well, we provide many things that are vital to be able to continue your life and your, that are vital for your security, such as satellite communications, satellite phones, satellite internet units, and solar powered portable generators. Look, if or when the power grid goes down, and it happens all the time on a local basis, or the cell towers go down, you have no means to communicate unless you have a satellite phone. Satellite phones don't rely on the power grid. They don't rely on cell towers. They communicate directly with the satellites, and therefore they work anywhere on Earth. Look, only 10% of the planet at best is covered by cell phone service of any kind. The rest is wide open. Only 7% of the United States is covered by cell phone service. The rest of it, you're on your own. So if you find yourself out, I'm here in Colorado, and if you get off the beaten path up in the mountains very quickly, you have no bars. You get into trouble, you really are literally dead in the water. So satellite phones help save lives. They help you stay in communication. Should you lose communications or power, satellite internet units, such as the Starlink units, they work the same way. They give you access to data wherever you are, no matter what's going on. And portable solar power generators give you the number one thing you need, which is the access to power. Because whatever happens, unless the sun goes out, and then we're in a different ball game. But as long as the sun comes out at some point, you're going to be able to power everything from your handheld devices to your entire house. We have units from under $100 to $5,000 that will power your house, including your AC, your dishwasher, washing machines, everything else, all day, every day, ongoing. Because look, if we run into a long-term emergency and you have a gas or propane generator, you're going to run out of that gas. You're going to run out of that propane. And if the supply chain breaks down, there's going to be no more of it at all. So having these kind of things, provided by solar power and these portable generators, I think is a very smart move. Because unfortunately, I don't think it's if we're going to have extended blackouts, but it's going to be when. So, in my mind, hopefully I'm wrong. I pray I'm wrong. But if I'm not, I'd rather be prepared. So we have free sat phones and free satellite internet units from Starlink with activation. We're the only ones who do that. And we have very well priced solar powered portable generators.
Fantastic. Well, Chris, I really appreciate you making time for us today. This has been fun. We'll definitely have to do this again. Chris Hoar has been our guest. SAT123 is the amazing site. The Cold War AI really isn't science fiction, kids. It's unfolding right now, and as today's conversation reminds us, the technologies we adopt today will shape the freedoms we keep tomorrow. A huge thank you to Chris from SAT123 for shedding some light on this emerging global battle, because you were talking about things I didn't even know what the hell was going on, brother. I didn't know half of this was happening. He's been explaining what the individuals and the institutions can do to stay secure, and for more information, visit SAT123 online. And stay informed, stay aware, and as always, stay connected. Thank you, Chris. Thanks for doing this, baby.
Thanks so much, G. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it, my friend. There he goes. That is Chris Hoar. He joins us today here on our big